During February, I've been reading more books than I normally do in a month. The 3 books that stood out to me this month were The Red Badge of Courage by Stephan Crane, A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court by Mark Twain, and Out of Atlas by Damien Hien. I probably just butchered that. No wait, I definitely just butchered that. All 3 of these books represent interesting ways of storytelling. The physical stories are important, yet every book needs something unique or there's really no reason in reading it. Today, we'll explore what makes each of these books truly unique, pointing out where they fall short and discovering what makes a book worth the read. Let's start with Out of Atlas. The book follows a boy named Fred Banks on his journey to find fulfillment by receiving a life spark. If you were to casually read this book, you might find it uninteresting and generic, and honestly, I thought the very same thing at the beginning. However, the more you read, the more you begin to understand the underlying narrative. Out of all the books we'll be discussing today, Out of Atlas's meaning is the hardest to uncover. The book starts off like the Attack on Titan anime. A small city is surrounded by massive walls that the town has erected to protect itself from an overwhelming enemy who they cannot hope to defeat. Everyone in the town has accepted their solitude and comfortably lives inside the walls, never questioning what unknowns lay outside. All that is, except for Fred Banks. After being orphaned 5 years ago at the young age of 11, Fred has fully detached himself from the city and wishes to discover fulfillment outside the city's walls. When he finally discovers that he can find fulfillment and how to get it, Fred embarks on an adventure like no other. Now, as I've said before, this all sounds very generic. Yet, by and by, we find out that Fred is a miserable and lonely kid. He thinks he needs a light spark for him to be finally fulfilled, yet he does not know that instead he wishes for companionship and love. Towards the end of the book, Fred finally receives all of these things and is set off on another adventure. Now for my overall thoughts on this book. The base story is okay. There is action, drama, hardships, and plenty of plot armor for our main protagonist. The underlying story is very interesting, and you'll find yourself rooting for Fred, being happy when he's happy and sad when he's sad. Any author worth their salt has his skill, but my main criticism for this book is its dependency on a sequel. In my humble opinion, a book, whether part of a series or not, should be able to stand alone as a good book without the need for a sequel. Now this is not me crapping all over sequels. Sequels are great in every form of media. Take for example the Amazing Halo series, all sequels of one another. I cannot remember a single criticism for the overall worth of any of those games. I want to go ahead and state that I have not read the sequels for Out of Atlas. Yet, I do not think that I need to for my point to be valid. For any work of art to be complete, one must fully finish their work before starting on the sequel. The author has a responsibility to answer all the questions in a work before ending it, with teasers being an obvious exception. Honestly, I can make an entire video on sequels. In fact, it could be a good topic for my next video, but we'll have to see. Next is A Connecticut Yankee in King Arthur's Court. This book takes the cake for the most unique idea out of all the books we'll be talking about today. In the book, we follow Hank Morgan, an American from the state of Connecticut who is transported back in time to medieval England during the reign of the legendary King Arthur. His modern clothes make him stand out, and Hank is soon captured and placed on display in front of the king. The Knights of the Round Table deem him to be a criminal and soon decide to burn him at the stake. With his modern knowledge, Hank uses the solar eclipse to convince everyone that he's a powerful magician, able to remove the sun's light from the sky. With this miracle, Hank becomes very powerful, with the only man in authority over him being King Arthur himself. Hank assumes the title of the Boss and begins his efforts to modernize medieval England. This book is a comedy at its base, and that is clearly communicated through the various over-the-top methods the Boss uses to display his power and prove his worth. The Boss goes on adventures, each teaching him something new about every part of society. In his first adventure, the Boss learns about the nobility. In the second, it's the church. And in the third, it's the serfs and slaves. Mark Twain did an excellent job laying the groundwork for something truly spectacular, yet his execution failed him. Whether it be for personal reasons, we know that Mark Twain was beginning to struggle financially during the end of writing this book, or that he just became lazy and wanted nothing more than finishing this massive undertaking history will never know. The book ends in an overall failure of the Boss's plans. The nobility self-destruct, the church seize control, and Mark Twain begins a reign of terror to say the least. He begins killing off characters left and right. First, it's the Knights of the Round Table, next, it's King Arthur himself, then it's the rest of the nobility and all the Boss's hard work, and at the end, it's the Boss himself to finally taste the fruit of the sword. To say the ending feels lazy is an understatement. I'm going to pause right here. The following section contains spoilers for the Marvel movie Eternals. Please skip to the timestamp below if you haven't seen it already. The most similar thing in modern entertainment is Eternals. During the entire movie, the film kills off characters it doesn't need anymore. By the end of the movie, only 3 of the original 11 main characters remain on the focused planet of Earth. While yes, the ending of Eternals is not as bloody as a Connecticut Yankee inking Alder's court, the same depressing ending is fated for both works. We finally come to the Red Badge of Courage. In it, we follow Henry Fleming, a young Union soldier fighting in the American Civil War. While most war novels focus on outstanding acts of bravery, courage, or wit, the Red Badge of Courage flips all of that on its head and focuses on Henry's cowardice, ego, and pride. Henry only joins the war effort because of tales of fame and adventure that he reads about in the newspaper. Going against his mother's wishes, Henry enlists and joins a regiment that is mainly composed of young, inexperienced soldiers like himself. In his very first engagement with the enemy, Henry cowers and runs. Instantly regretting this, Henry spends the rest of his time trying to redeem himself for his past mistake, eventually succeeding with spectacular fashion in 2 instances. His actions did not change the war, nor did it even make a dent in it. Henry's true war was against himself, his cowardice, and his ideals on life. The Red Badge of Courage is the shortest in length compared to all the other books today. Yet, even with the small page count, the book proves to you that you don't need to write a whole library's worth of books to get your point across. The book is simple and makes it very easy to understand the plight of Henry. While it's the least emotional inducing book out of the 3, you are still left feeling satisfied, as Henry, quote, turns now with a lover's thirst to images of tranquil skies, fresh meadows, cool brooks, and the existence of soft, eternal peace. End quote. Stephan Crane seems to be disgusted with the idea of beating around the bush in his novel, showing that sometimes being simple and honest with your reader can be better than treating your reader like a baby and holding their hand the entire way through. Out of all the 3 books, The Red Badge of Courage has the best ending and my highest respect. 10 out of 10, would recommend. Thank you so very much for watching. This month I wrote 3 scripts for February, all with different topics, and this proved to be the one February wanted me to make. I have just one announcement to make. Live streams have moved to YouTube for the foreseeable future. If you want to get into contact with me, or join the growing community, join the Discord and follow me on Twitter. And that's going to do it for today. As always, I've been It's Joey G, and I'll see you next month.
We'll all fall down as we cross that line. We're reaching the end of our time.